The first thing you should know is that I wasn't supposed to be there. Humans weren't part of the diplomatic delegation. We weren't even supposed to be in that sector of space. The Varelian throne world was old, paranoid, and famously allergic to surprises, especially bipedal ones with fragile bones and a reputation for improvisation. I was just a systems engineer, not a soldier, not a hero, not anyone history was supposed to remember. And yet, when the alien queen lay bleeding on the marble floor of her own throne chamber, it was my hands that kept her alive. Beginning, a human in the wrong palace. The Varelian palace was a cathedral of alien arrogance, spiraling obsidian columns, gravity-bent walkways, and banners that shimmered with living light. Every step I took echoed too loudly, like the building itself disapproved of my existence. Queen Saren of Viril sat upon a floating dais at the far end of the chamber. She was tall, even seated, her silver-blue exoskeletal armor grown, not forged, directly from her body. Her 4 eyes regarded the assembled ambassadors with calm, ancient intelligence. I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at the energy reading scrolling across my wrist display. Something was wrong. The shield harmonics beneath the throne were oscillating, subtle, but accelerating. I'd been brought along as a technical observer, mostly to explain why humans insisted on redundancies and manual overrides. No one expected me to speak, but the numbers didn't lie. I leaned toward Ambassador Ree and whispered, "Your Excellency, the throne's power lattice is destabilizing." She frowned. "That's impossible. Varelian tech." The chamber shook. A shriek of tortured energy ripped through the air as the dais collapsed inward, not exploding, but folding, like space itself had been pinched. Queen Saren screamed once before vanishing into a storm of shattered light and falling debris. The room erupted into chaos. Guards surged forward. Energy barriers snapped into place. Diplomats scattered. Someone shouted an accusation in 3 different languages, and my display screamed a single word in red. Cascade failure. Lethal. I ran. No one ordered me to. No one even noticed me. I vaulted over fallen marble and skidded to the edge of the crater where the throne had been. Queen Saren lay at the center. Alive. Barely. Her armor was cracked, ichor, dark and luminescent, seeping from the fractures. The energy storm around her was unstable, feeding on her own biofield. Varelian guards hesitated at the edge, their weapons trained inward. Their protocols forbade contact. Their queen was dying, and they were waiting for permission. Humans don't wait well. I jumped into the crater. Middle. The choice no one else would make. The energy burned like ice and fire at the same time, crawling across my skin. My suit alarms went wild, then died as the interference overwhelmed them. I knelt beside the queen. Up close, she was terrifying and fragile all at once. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes unfocused. The throne's lattice had fused with her armor, trapping her in a feedback loop that would tear her apart molecule by molecule. I had seconds. There was no manual for this. No precedent. Just raw physics and instinct. The lattice needed a ground. Something expendable. Something human. I slammed my wrist display into override and physically tore open the access panel embedded in her armor. The energy arced, slicing my forearm open. Pain flared white-hot, but I gritted my teeth and forced my hand deeper. "Come on," I muttered, like the universe might listen. I linked my suit's power cord directly into the lattice and rerouted the overflow through me. The chamber lights dimmed. The air screamed. Every nerve in my body lit up like a supernova. I tasted metal and ozone and blood. For a moment, just a moment, I understood what it felt like to be a conduit for a star. Then the lattice stabilized. The storm collapsed inward, snuffed out like a candle. Queen Saren gasped, her body convulsing as the feedback loop broke. I collapsed beside her. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was 4 alien eyes, suddenly focused, staring straight at me. I woke up in a white room that smelled faintly of antiseptic and ozone. Gravity felt wrong. Lighter than Earth, heavier than viral standard. My arm was wrapped in a translucent cast, faintly glowing as nanotech knit bone and muscle back together. A figure stood at the foot of the bed. Queen Saren. She was no longer wearing her living armor, just a ceremonial mantle of woven light. Without the throne amplifying her presence, she seemed smaller, but no less powerful. "You should be dead," she said calmly. "Yeah," I croaked. "I get that a lot today." Her mandibles, part of her face I'd never seen move in recordings, tensed. Varelian equivalent of a smile, I later learned. "My healers tell me you acted without authorization," she continued. "You interfaced incompatible biology with royal technology. You diverted lethal energies through your own nervous system." "I needed a ground," I said. "You were out of time." She studied me in silence, her eyes reflecting layers of thought I couldn't begin to follow. Finally, she said, "When my consciousness fragmented, I remember you." That made my stomach drop. Remember what?
"Pain," she said.
And defiance. And a mind that refused to accept inevitability. She stepped closer. In Varelian culture, memory shared at the edge of death creates a bond.
"Oh."
"Oh no." I swallowed. "That sounds important." "It is," she agreed. "It means my survival is now entwined with your existence."
"Great."
Saved a queen. Accidentally triggered alien destiny. HFY, I guess. Middle. Consequences of survival. The political fallout was immediate and explosive. The assassination attempt, later proven to be an internal coup, had nearly decapitated the Varelian Empire. The fact that a human civilian had intervened rewrote centuries of protocol overnight. Some called me a hero. Others called me a dangerous variable. The Varelian high clans demanded my execution for contaminating royal memory space. Human leadership demanded my extraction. Queen Saren demanded time. I remained in the palace under protective custody, and she kept visiting. Not as a ruler, but as a survivor. She asked questions no diplomat ever would. Why humans used manual overrides instead of trusting automation. Why we valued individuals over systems. Why I jumped into the crater instead of waiting. I gave her the simplest answer I had. Because I could. That seemed to unsettle her more than any political argument. One evening, as the artificial stars dimmed over the palace gardens, she admitted something that changed everything. "When the throne failed," she said, standing beside me, "my advisors had already accepted my death." I frowned. Accepted?
"Yes."
The stability of the empire outweighed the life of one queen. Even me. I clenched my good hand. "That's insane." She looked at me. "You did not accept it." "No," I said quietly. "I didn't." She nodded once. A decision crystallized. Ending what she remembers. The coup was crushed within weeks. Queen Saren returned to the throne, not the old one, but a redesigned platform, built with human redundancies and manual failsafes. The Varelian Empire officially recognized humanity as a sentinel species, unpredictable, resilient, and dangerously protective of life. As for me, I was offered titles,
land,
immunity. I refused them all. I asked for one thing instead, to go home. On the day I departed, Queen Saren met me at the hangar. No guards, no ceremony, Just two survivors who shared a moment the universe hadn't planned for. You will be remembered in our histories, she said, as the one who defied the inevitable. I shrugged. Just did my job. That, she replied, is what frightens us most. She placed a slender, glowing token in my hand, a Varelian memory shard. So that I do not forget, she said, and so that you may remember what you changed. I boarded the ship and left Viral behind. Back on Earth, life returned to something resembling normal. Engineering contracts, quiet nights, scars that ached when it rained. But sometimes when I hold the shard, I feel it. A presence. A queen who remembers the human who refused to let her die. And somewhere out there, across the stars, an empire that learned a dangerous truth. Humanity doesn't accept inevitability. We challenge it. And sometimes we win. Months passed, but the memory shard Queen Saren had given me pulsed softly in my hand every time I thought of her. It wasn't just a relic, it was a connection, a living echo of the moment she almost died, and I didn't hesitate. Then came the summons. Not a formal diplomatic request, not a high-level threat, just a simple message. Return. The Empire remembers. I arrived at the Varelian throne world aboard a human freighter, expecting pomp, protocols, maybe some subtle warnings. Instead, the Queen was waiting for me at the landing platform, without armor, without advisors, just her 4 eyes reflecting starlight. Human, she said, her voice calm but layered with something I couldn't name. You saved me, and you survived. That alone makes you extraordinary. But now, the Empire requires your counsel. Not as a soldier, not as an ambassador, but as someone who dares to think differently. I swallowed. You want me to stay? I want you to influence decisions, she replied. To remind us all that life, even one life, is worth defying impossible odds. To remember that courage can come from the most unexpected places. And then she smiled, just a subtle curl of her mandibles, and the shard in my pocket glowed warmly. I realized then that saving a queen had changed more than her life. It had shifted the balance of an empire. And maybe, in a small but real way, humanity itself had carved its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through the stubbornness to protect, to act, and to refuse inevitability. As I stood there, watching the twin suns rise over the crystalline towers, I understood something vital. The bond we shared wasn't just gratitude or survival. It was mutual recognition, human courage mirrored in an alien mind. A bridge between species built on trust, risk, and the single, defiant choice to act when no one else would. And somewhere deep inside the Queen's consciousness, I knew she remembered everything. Not just my hands saving her, but the audacity of a human who refused to stand aside, who chose life over protocol, instinct over fear. We had both survived. And together, we would never forget. For the first time in her long life, Queen Saren, ruler of billions, looked at me not as a subject or an anomaly, but as an equal. And for me, the human who was never supposed to be there, it felt like home.